Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more comics. And I realized that even though it's new comic book day, we're going to be talking about a book that came out last week. If you can't tell by the spinning rack behind me, we're of course going to be talking about Ghost Rider. No, we're going to be talking about Wolverine. Wolverine number 4. Now, again, this is Benjamin Percy showing basically why he is the best there is at what he does. And what he does is write Wolverine really, really well. X-Force is also the other shining example in Dawn of X that Benjamin Percy's writing. And pretty much those two stand above all other Dawn of X books. But we're not going to talk about other Dawn of X books. We're not going to complain about Dawn of X. We already, if you know Dawn of X, if you're liking it, great. If you're not liking it, great. Not talking about the negative. I might have a couple of things, but otherwise this is a fantastic issue. Another way to show that some things are going right at Marvel. If you don't think that everything's going right at Marvel, it's time to focus on the positive to me. We can spin our wheels complaining and complaining and complaining, going round and round and round. But Marvel and DC are always going to have problems. They had the problems when I was hearing about the problems when I started reading in the late 80s. They continue through the 90s. They continue now. Everybody's got an opinion. Some people think it's a disaster. Some people think it's fine. But it's negativity that gets views. It's negativity that gets super chats and gets brand new subscribers, and people can build their channels pretty quickly off of negativity. I don't really care if anybody watches this. I'm just going to try to spread the positivity about books that are good, at least in my opinion. And Wolverine number 4 is definitely a shining example of that. Before we get into it, I do think that it's interesting, and number 4 is this isn't Omega Red's first appearance in Dawn of X, but I do think that it's kind of interesting that for this new Wolverine book, it's number 4. Just like his actual first appearance was in X-Men number 4, way back in the day with Jim Lee. I love this cover. There was a place, they used to sell this as a t-shirt. I can't find it anywhere. If anybody knows where you can find this t-shirt, let me know, because I will pay. Also number 5 here. This is number 5. So these were the first 2 appearances of Omega Red. Just so happens to be issues 4. I don't know if it's something that they thought about. I also have the t-shirt. This one I did find. You can find this t-shirt. This t-shirt is badass. I just think it's an interesting thing that both number 4s deal with Omega Red. Now, speaking of Omega Red, who I think is a really cool villain, they don't always know what to do with him, but in this case, I think that he's going to be done really well, because I think Benjamin Percy will write him well. Now, the thing about him was, in the more recent books, one of the more recent books, Weapon X, kind of like a villainous, it's kind of like X-Force a little bit. It was kind of like X-Force. We had like Old Man Logan, Sabretooth, Domino, Lady Deathstrike. Later here you got Mystique, you had Warpath. And they were doing all sorts of kind of covert stuff. Also, a lot of it had to do with their own the Weapon X program. And in the storyline here, real late in the series, Omega Red showed up, and what was cool was that they were able to kind of fix him a little bit, to get him out from under the influence of his creators, and he kind of had to feel like a Road to Redemption arc going on. And then Age of X-Men came, and Ox and Pox came, and it's a lot of his storyline, kind of like a lot of storylines, kind of just got shoved away and not thought about. But he was on the road to redemption, and I kind of feel like when he did return, we might have seen something like that. But he's definitely more interesting, I think, to them as a villain, even though it's not really his fault what's happening to him. He is under the thrall, I believe, of the vampires. And another interesting correlation between this book and X-Men number 4 is both basically have almost nothing to do with Omega Red. It's a little subtle thing. Like in this one, he's kind of there at the beginning and then like at the end. Or maybe it is just the end. I haven't cracked this open in a little while. But in this, he's just barely in it. And you got that covered. So it's kind of like an interesting correlation as well. But in this book, most of this deals with the cost of collateral damage to humans that get in the way of mutant fights, superhero fights versus villains, all the kind of damage that can be done that nobody talks about really too often in these books. Now, it's not like the most original plot, because there have been plenty of times where a character gets, you know, they're supposed to, you know, come up. They're confronted with something they've done to somebody that they were wronged, you know, by, like, you did this to my sister or my dad or something. It's not a new thing. But I really like how it's handled here. And I also love that Wolverine, you know, if you want to think that they are forgetting continuity sometimes, or they're just picking and choosing, maybe they are, but they definitely, with one little basic part in this beginning of this story, we know that things aren't forgotten. So anything that happened before can be re-brought up in these plots, just because of what happens between the exchange between Wolverine and the Quiet Council. And after the events of issue 3, where Wolverine got Magneto drunk and stole his helmet, he's back to bring it back to the Quiet Council. And he's just kind of like, there you go. You get your helmet back. You know, you got anything, you know, just, we done, or you got something to say? And Magneto starts to say something. And he's like, look, I got you drunk and stole your helmet. You once tore the adamantium off my skeleton. Call it square? It's kind of a trump card to just about anything that Magneto could say. I took your helmet. You ripped my adamantium out once. Shut up. This is nothing. Don't be a baby. And Xavier, he tries to, you know, say, look, you know, we want you to work with us cooperatively. He's like, look, I did this for you. I did that for you. What's the problem here? And they're like, look, man, you know, you're basically, you know, publicly mocking us and our government. And when you insult and embarrass Magneto, you endanger what we've worked so hard to build. And he's like, well, then you're probably not going to like the fact that I used his helmet as a piss bucket. And Magneto's face here, as he's got putting the helmet back on, his special little psychic-proof helmet, you can tell he's like, what? What in the hell is that? So it's a great beginning of him just basically, you know, we get to see his attitude towards things. And it's kind of an evolving situation, because Wolverine's been one of the characters that seems to be still himself during this. I know a lot of we've talked about with other people about the pod people kind of thing, that these aren't really the X-Men, but Wolverine at least still seems to be himself. More so even as the story goes along. And in this, you know, we got like, okay, this will be my gripe part of the book, right? So the white pages. It's been a bone of contention. At first it seemed cool. It was a nice little novelty. It was good for Hawks and Pox. But now it's everywhere in every book, multiple pages taken up by these huge spreads that don't really need to be anything, just to tell you who's there, a little bit of a blurb of there will be blood, right? And then you got that 2 full page spread. Do we really need all of that? And then still more, another whole page. And this is called The Hidden Gate. And while it's interesting what's written on here, when you read it, you realize, why can't you just draw that? You could have drawn that in the 4 pages. Even less. Probably could have done it in 2. To describing how Wolverine leaves Krakoa secretly to this hidden gate that he has. I mean, it could have put in just about all this wording, because the story is just him working his way to the gate. And they could have put in all these words in there, but shown it to us in art form. Could have gotten Bogdanovich, who is really great here, by the way. His art is fantastic in this book. That's my gripe there. That's my only gripe, is that they're wasting pages without art, and you're describing in great detail a situation that I'd rather see. I mean, yes, I can picture it in my head, but I'd rather see it drawn. Because I do like what's written here. Is he doesn't believe in Krakoa. He wants to, but he can't. Not yet. Because when he takes in a big drink of this place, when he hears the children laughing and sees the flower-filled meadows and smells the salty breeze pouring off the ocean, he can't help but fall back on what he knows. And this is what he knows. Every time he's fallen in love, it's ended in grief or betrayal. Every time he's believed in a new beginning, it comes to an end. He's done as much wrong as right. There is a balance to life, but there's no balance here in Krakoa. Not that he sees anyway. And so he talks about, like in Paris, it's this beautiful city, but underneath it, there's like 6 million corpses, buried in there. He's like, I can believe in the corpses. I can believe, the shadows down there. I can believe in that. He's headed towards the shadow country where the sun rarely shines and he can be alone in the company of others. So he's basically trying to just get back to what he always does, right? He just kind of wants to do his own thing, out on himself, have some beer, listen to some bad country music. Depending on, okay, maybe if you like country, I'm not going to, rip on you. I'm just saying. What he's always done. Go lone wolf it and hang out and just... He doesn't want to be around all the happy, hands across America, singing Kumbaya down by the fire mutants. Because he says, everywhere, here someone's watching, listening, supervising. The Summerses, Xavier, Sage, even the island itself, eyes crawling all over him like spiders. And so he has this gate, and it takes him to this place that he's been going to forever. And this is where the story really changes, where he goes in here and he sees these people, and he just wants to have some drinks and some whiskey, listen to some music. And right from get-go, even though you would think he would know, he at least knows the bartender, but he starts to get a little bit of weird, vibe from this place. And then you got this cop coming in, and he's talking about there was this death on the side of the road. He's scared. He needs to come in here. And we find out that they drug him. These people that are all in the bar drug him, and they have this another white page, another one, mutant trauma support group. And basically what this sets up is that these people are all involved in something that happened to them where there was collateral damage in a fight. One guy, I believe it was the bartender, he was in Madripoor, and a chair was supposed to hit, I think, one of the mutants or himself or something. Well, it says it here. Let me get right to it. Where he says, first time you walked through that door, I almost shit myself. Years ago, I was bartending in Madripoor when a brawl broke out. You were at the center of it. Thrown chair hit my fiancée in the head and cracked her skull. Blood clot killed her a week later. I came here to escape the memory. And then Wolverine walks in. Convenient? Sure. Small world? Yes. And so there is this guy that they find. One of the guys goes into the bathroom and he ends up with a hole in his chest. But before Wolverine can really react to it, he gets shot by a dart from the cop. And he's starting to try to put things together, but they drug him, they tie him to a chair, and they drag him out to the woods, to a lake, a frozen lake, where they're literally going to ice him. And that's where we first see Omega Red kind of overlooking everything, ominously. And you know where this is headed. And so they cut into the ice, a big square, and they're going to drop him in and make him pay for his crimes. But what they don't get is, see, this is not Captain America. This is not Iron Man. This isn't Spider-Man, who will try to go, look, we can, try to come to some kind of thing, and this is Wolverine. And he knows what he's done. He might have a spotty memory, but he knows what he did. And he's just like, I deserve every kind of pain. I've done wrong. Mutants have done wrong. But for what it's worth, we're trying to do better. So even through all of this, he might not believe in everything, but he does believe in that. And he knows that everything he's done, he deserves. Every time, it's why a lot of times he takes punishment. He's kind of like the Muhammad Ali Where he just keeps getting beat up and beat up and beat up and just keeps taking the punishment. And then finally, pow, hits back. You know, he's that guy who, and maybe Muhammad Ali's a bad reference, I don't know. I just think it's somebody who just lets themselves get the shit beat out of them, you know? And so, and then somebody will go, that's not right either. Like, just... But they're like, hey, you know, you say that now, right? But what about Fred? You know, you turn around and kill Fred. And Wolverine's like, Fred? Fred, the bathroom. Have you already forgotten? Just one more notch in your belt? And he's like, but I didn't kill... Oh, shit. It's like, if you didn't kill him, and you see this little shadow over this guy's head, right? This little circle right there in the top. Boom, boom. There's the head. And he's just like, Wolverine's just trying to warn him, you need to let me go now. I'm not worried about myself, damn it. I'm worried about you. Don't you understand? You're dead. You're all dead. And right then and there, the guy with the chainsaw gets hit right in the back with one of Omega Red's tentacles. And that's where he comes in, right? And it's just, he's so towering. He's like, I've fallen victim to the same thing I've been criticizing Krakoa about. Letting my guard down. Thinking I was safe. Bar's always been my only sanctuary, but there is no escape. And I mean, again, just great art. Great show up of Omega Red as Wolverine's falling through the ice. He's killed all those people and he's got his tendrils now into the water. Grabbed onto Logan. And he says, I've been following you, Logan, and I know why you come here. Because you and I, we're the same. We can only tolerate so much sunlight. Darkness is our truth. When you're at that bar, you're grinding a thumb into the rotten parts of your heart and mind. And the anesthetizing, oh, I can say it. And then anesthetizing, your pain with liquor. I also came to drink, but instead of rot gut whiskey, I'm drinking pain. And your pain is delicious. And then we see who else is there, and it's this army of vampires while Wolverine's under the surface of the water. And that's the end of the book. Beautiful. It's so much about Logan, and it just gets it so right. We haven't even gotten to the real fight yet, and we get this great human story that just, again, Percy just killing it. One of the best writers around, not just at Marvel, just period. And Bogdanovich's art, again, continues to show why he's the best right now, to me, at this whole Dawn of X business. X-Force is another really, really good book. And I totally tell you guys to get the trades or the single issues, as many as you can. As many as you can. I don't know. I guess as many as you want. Anyway, so that's Wolverine number 4. I can't wait for number 5. That's the other thing, is these books that are coming out. Some of these books, like Wolverine and X-Force and Thor, they're the kind of books that just you can't literally wait for the next issue. You really can't. Some books that I read, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I can wait a month. But not Wolverine. No, I can't. I am always chomping at the bit now for any bit of this book that I can get my hands on. And we're only at issue 4. So here we go. If you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Otherwise, this is Rob saying keep reading comics. Go visit your local comic book shops. Give them love. And we'll see you on the next video.